So next year, the centre and states will spend rupees 13.7 lakh crore as capital expenditure. By any account, it's a phenomenal number. Capacity utilization in the manufacturing sector is at about 72%. My question is, when do you think that the private sector will enter this virtuous cycle of capital spending?
They are in it already, I would think.
There has been a minor uptick.
But I've been explaining this. I'm not sure if industry is explaining it as much, but I read it. So I keep read it in the sense my inferences based on the kind of discussions which happen. India's industry, the old India industry as well as the new, which is the IT related industry, software and so on, both old India industry and this, are transitioning also with the energy related matters, are transitioning also in the way in which their shop floors are operated. So the investment that they make is not to create one more unit of what they already have. The investment that they have to make, and therefore the conscious decision that they have to take, will now also look at not just expanding existing capacity the way it is, but also looking at bringing high technology, Web3, robotics, 3D printing and so on. So that together with moving towards more renewable energy use, making a green product of what they are making. For instance, steel industry is facing huge barriers in Europe. Now, their business of having to invest and expand now would be not to just produce more steel, but to produce green steel. So the investment there has three new dimensions which have never been into consideration earlier. Invest and produce green, produce also with the efficiencies of technology. So all this, when comes into play, when your decision making is being done, does take time and more resources. So I would want to give that advantage for India's private sector, that yes, their process is going to be somewhat more complicated in terms of taking the decision, but I think the atmosphere is conducive for that on all grounds, technology, green and so on.
I'm kind of curious that while you've given a boost to capital expenditure and increased outlay to PM Awas Yojana, you've also cut the MGNREGA budget by almost 33% or 30,000 crore. Why have you done that?
Actually, the answer lies in your own question.
Okay.
PM Awas Yojana is also to be done by workers in the area, rural area, who normally would have gone for, let us say, in the absence of this, would have gone for Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Right. That's one answer, because even this has got to be done by people in the rural areas who are looking for jobs, just as Jal Jeevan Mission also goes through rural works. So they have these opportunities as well, which are coming not in a small incremental change, 6% increase, 79,000 crores for PM Awas, and also Jal Jeevan also getting a huge allocation. So these two also are there along with me. Second, MGNREGA is a demand-driven scheme. The more people come saying we want the job, we give them the work. So what is stated at the budget time estimate tends to keep adding to its resources or demands based on what comes from states. I need more. Then we add more to it and go to the parliament with a supplementary demand. So if you see the last 3 to 4 years, inclusive of the COVID year, naturally, yes, the BE number and the RE numbers are so different in that the RE is much higher. And if you now go back to the last 2 years where the actual numbers are available, BE, RE and the actuals, you will see the actuals are lots more than the BE, and in some cases exactly as much as the RE, which is enhanced, or even better than the RE in increased amount when you realize it in the actuals. So you end up spending a lot more even as you're going on. So I'm a bit now worried that this is becoming a staid question. MGNREGA, you cut it. Just see the pattern for the last 3 years. It starts with a number at the BE, keeps going on because it's demand driven, and when the supplementary demand stage comes, it's actually a lot more.
Yes. So more opportunities have been created, so that's
right.
Yeah, so I agree. The real average GDP growth rate is 6.5%, as the economic survey says. With a little more reforms, the survey posits that it could even be a little higher at 7 to 8%. Now, what is the realistic and the desirable sort of growth rate for India if it were to become, the third largest economy in the world by the end of this decade?
Desirable is one thing, but that desirable number will have to be tempered down by the global realities.
Yes.
The kind of uncertainties with every economy in the world faces. I don't think any one economy is so immune that the global volatilities don't affect them. So every economy is affected, particularly for a country like India, which for at least two critical items entirely depends on imports: fuel, fertilizer. So when you're looking at importing that many big ticket items, your uncertainties are lots more and lots more pronounced. But even provisioning for that and building a budget, we have definitely ensured that we will be not as much be affected by such uncertainties as would any other country be. And therefore the numbers that we've given for the growth is very realistic.
Right.